Hi everyone, I am so excited today because I am speaking with author Brad Parks and we are talking about his brand new book coming out Tuesday. He's got the cover right there and it's called The Last Act. Uh, you know what, Brad? I always know I'm going to read a great book when I read your books. I always know it. I mean, I still talk about Say Nothing to people when they ask me for book recommendations. That's always on the top of my list. It was like,
Michelle, thank you. I wish I had that much confidence that I was always going to write a great book, but it somehow always seems to be a little more fraught than that.
Well, you know what? I was really upset today when I was doing research because what is the prequel? The Whistleblower. I didn't even know about it.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
So it's not required reading. So the Whistleblower, for your viewers who don't know, it's an short story. That exists only online or on your reading device, whatever you would like that to be. But if you miss on that, or maybe you're just a paper-only person, it's no problem. You can still get into the last act and not miss a beat.
Did you write it first?
No, I wrote it second, actually. So that was one of those classic things, and maybe I shouldn't be spilling too much, but it was one of those things after the book was all written and after it was edited, the marketing department came up with this brilliant idea of we should also do an short story that could serve as a prequel. It's like, great. How do I do that exactly? So it was, the fun thing about, and I always enjoy short fiction for this reason, you can just take kind of a little small sliver and kind of blow it up bigger. And that's what we did with The Whistleblower, kind of taking one character and giving you more of his backstory.
So what character? Can you tell us?
Mitchell Dupree. So for the readers who don't know, The Last Act is about an out-of-work actor by the name of Tommy Jump, who is approached by the FBI to play the role of a lifetime. He has to go behind bars, pretend to be an inmate, cozy up to another inmate, a disgraced banker, who has documents that can lead to the downfall of our cartel. So Tommy's job is to try and figure out where has this banker, whose name is Mitchell Dupree, hidden these documents. So most of the book is told from Tommy's perspective, but we do get these little snippets of Mitchell Dupree and his life and whatnot. So this is actually giving you the time when Mitchell Dupree is caught and goes to prison and kind of his life as it's unraveling. So it's a fun glimpse at a character and just giving you a little more content that you otherwise might have had.
I'm going to go read it because it is quick. So I'm going to go do it. But is that the first time you've ever done that, right?
I'd actually done that once previously. I had a series with an investigative newspaper reporter named Carter Ross. And it was the same kind of thing, fueled by the marketing department. And so I actually wrote the backstory of how Carter got hired by the paper that he was working for, which is, again, just kind of like a little short story. It's not the 90,000-word novel. It's like that one was maybe 6,000 or 7,000 words. And it's always fun to just, spend a little bit of time with the character.
Yeah, and I love this title, The Last Act, because
thank you.
I love that, he's an actor, and it's like this could be his last act, is like going in, acting as an inmate.
Yeah, well, and one of the things I really enjoy about Tommy is, I'm a thriller reader, right?
Yeah.
And I love mysteries and thrillers, but Tommy is a kind of character you don't see a lot in thrillers. I mean, an out-of-work actor is not, he's not cut from the same cloth of the ex-FBI agent
right.
to break your jaw by looking at it, or the ex-special forces, or the guy who can defuse the bomb. I mean, he's an actor, Like, if you want him to sing Broadway standards, he's your guy. But when it comes to, violence and dangerous things, not so much. But I think that also makes him more approachable and more relatable, I hope, to readers.
Yeah, and what's really funny? When I started reading it in the very beginning, so doesn't mean anything, I was like, oh, this is going to be a joke. This is going to be a joke. This is a joke. This is a setup for something else. Like, I really did. I was like, oh, this is a joke. And then it's like, oh, no, it's not a joke.
No. Oh, I'm setting you up for a lot, Michelle. It's not thought.
Yeah, and you start off the book, and I'm looking at this name because I don't know how to say it. But the murder of Chris Langeteeg?
Yeah, Langeteeg.
Yeah, so we set up the book like that. We start off, and what I love about thrillers, what I always do, and I've read this in a day. I mean, everybody, it's a page turner. I mean, you're not going to want to sit down. Just don't.
I always say my job is to make you neglect everything in your life, your laundry, the dishes, your kids, whatever. All of it. I want you
Order
to focus on that
pizza.
book instead.
Yeah, order pizza, go
Oh
away
yeah,
from the kids,
absolutely.
you know. And but then this morning when I was prepping, I went back and I read that first chapter because
Mm.
even if I read it in a day, I forget how you set me up. And I do forget. It's like I can remember, oh yeah, it was that guy, and then I'm like, wait, and I go back and I read it, and I'm like, oh, that was brilliant, Brad. Brilliant.
You were being manipulated the whole time.
Right. And then the last word of the first chapter, which I love this sentence, too late. What a way to start what a way to get you to chapter 2, right? It's like,
well, and I have to give credit to my UK editor, who one of the great things about being published internationally is you do have more than one editor. And I forget how I had ended that chapter originally. It had been just like a few more sentences or something like that, but he kind of like circled it and he's like, let's end it here. And it's like, oh yeah, that's much better. Like hack out that extra stuff.
And you know what? I always say this, that those, Britain thriller writers, they know what they're talking about, don't they?
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
I always love reading them because I'm like, oh, okay, they know how to end a chapter, that's for sure. But so do you, because these chapters, I always love, even in Say Nothing, it's like they're short and they get you right to the next one, and that's what keeps us turning,
right,
you know?
Right.
And do you feel like that as a thriller writer, for all of my readers out there, like, is that what you really try to focus on, are getting those chapters as short and say as much as you can in as little as you can?
Yeah. Well, I think honestly, when I'm writing, maybe I have a short attention span. I don't know. But my primary concern is not being bored while I'm writing. Because I know if I'm not bored while I'm writing, you won't be bored while I'm reading. And there are times when I'll be writing and I'll be like, God, I'm bored right now. This stinks. What is, so I always try to tell people, like, if you're writing something and you're bored, that's the chapter you should cut out, or that's the section you should cut out. So yeah, I'm really just trying to keep myself as much entertained, and then hopefully that keeps you entertained.
I always use, in our last interview, you said this really funny thing, and I say it all the time to my writers. You say that, you'll like go out for a run or go somewhere and be like, I am horrible. I suck. I'm the worst writer out there. And then you come back and you're like, oh my God, I'm a genius. I just thought of something.
That's a total genius. Yeah. So now, interestingly, is because you know about my process, which involves both self-loathing and exercise. As I reached the end of the last act, I was about to hold it upside down. That would have been no good. I had the characters, and I don't want to give away too much. I had the characters in a really bad situation that was awesome because it was really suspenseful, but I had no idea how to get them out of it. So I did what I normally do, which is hate myself and then go for a run, except I got to the end of the run and I hadn't solved it yet. So 2 days later, I went out for another run and I got to the end of that run. And I hadn't solved it yet. So 2 days later, I went for another run, and like 4 miles into a 5-mile run, it finally dawned on me what I could do. And the rest of the run, I ran home like Rocky. Like I was raising my arms. So I call the twist at the end of this book, or the problem at the end of this book, it was a 3-run problem.
It was a 3-run. I love Tommy so much. Like, he made me smile. I mean, this is a thriller, and I was thinking when I was laughing at certain parts, because you made some of the predicaments he was in kind of funny, even though they're not funny. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you put a little humor into him,
Yeah, well, Tommy is, he's a guy from New Jersey. Yeah, and he's spent his life on stage. Like he's a funny guy, and so you hope that kind of some of the things he does, like without giving away too much. Like he's also this excitable kind of guy. I wonder where he gets it from. I don't know, but like so when he to give away one of the early spoilers, when he finds out his fiance is pregnant, he starts running around the room. He's so excited, and then he opens up a window and shouts at a guy on the street, "Hey, we're pregnant!" And the guy on the street's like, yeah, good job, buddy. But, but that's who he is. Like, he's so effusive and ebullient. And that's part of why he's on stage. He loves sharing himself in that way. And so I'm glad he came across to you in your reading the way he exists in my head.
Yeah, because, being in a federal prison, he kind of had to tone it down. Every time he felt himself getting a little like, hey, buddy, how are you? It's like he had to remember, oh, yeah. I can't be
Yeah.
that guy.
Oh, so that's one of the storytelling decisions I made in this book, though, was to put Tommy in a minimum security prison, because I wanted him to be able to be himself a little bit. And also, I didn't want the book to really totally be about the brutality of prison. And I think if you went to like a medium security or a maximum security, it would be a lot about the dehumanizing, just viciousness of being in jail, and all of the racial problems and all of the other issues that come with that kind of incarceration, versus minimum security. Look, you are still in jail. You are not having a very good time, but it does allow for a little bit of looseness in the characters. It also allows for some more interaction with the characters, which is something I very much needed in this book, because I can't have the premise being, oh, Tommy's going to become best buddies with this banker, Mitchell Dupree, and oh, by the way, they're in lockdown 23 hours a day.
Right.
So, there had to be those kind of opportunities for them to interact.
Yes, and Amanda, let's talk about her.
Yes.
I loved her, and
she's a great character. So Amanda Porter, for those who don't know, she is a struggling artist. So they're both kind of, really struggling artists and striving for that next big thing. And Amanda was one of those characters who surprised me. And she just kind of kept evolving. She's this poor girl from this small town in Mississippi who's trying to make it in the bright lights big city of New York, which sounds a bit like a cliche, but I don't know. Like I never felt cliched when I was writing her, because she's very different from Tommy. She's an introvert, which for me, I'm not. Introverts are kind of harder to write, but she is more thoughtful and she doesn't say a lot. And I don't know, there was just something that really came alive about her. And I think what I'm most connected to about her is, and she says this at one point in the book, she's scrappy. She's really scrappy, and nobody looks at her and thinks she's scrappy because she's small and she's cute and everything like that. But man, she has just a fierceness that underlies everything she does. I love that character.
And as a 5-foot person myself, I do appreciate characters.
Right.
I do appreciate their problems. But I love in your books, like you bring, Say Nothing was really family. That was that was intense. But this one still had a family. There's still things, that he had to think about because, like you said, she's pregnant and he wants to, so there's still that tension, that family tension that you put in there, and I love that too. Like I think that not all thrillers are like that, but it's like that underlying. This one was more underlying than Say Nothing, which was very surface family. Right. But is that because that's where you're at? I
think there's a theme of family that largely emerges in all of my books, especially my last 3 books, all of which are standalone. So that's Say Nothing, Closer Than You Know, and now The Last Act. The defining aspect of my life right now, and probably for a long time to come, is family. I'm a dad, I've got a wife, I've got 2 kids who are both in the house, and the things that motivate me, that give me fear, that everything. It's all about them right now. And so Tommy is a younger guy, but he can see that coming, where I think he even says at one point in the book that he suddenly realizes, I'm no longer the most important person in my own life. Right. And I think that's the crux of being a parent, right? And he's just starting to discover that. So, there's a reason that's a theme, and it's because, that's my life, man. That's what I spend my time worrying about, Michelle, when I'm not writing books.
I love the line, and this is not a giveaway, is when Amanda decides to move in with his mom. And I love his line was like, "Oh, great idea, honey." And hope that worked, and then the afterthought was like, hope that works out.
Yeah, right. Well, and Amanda says something about Tommy's mom, like, I love her from a distance. From a
distance, right. And I've had mother-in-law.
That's one of the fun things you can do in books sometimes, is take 2 characters who are just so completely different and throw them in there. Because while Amanda is she's a Southerner, she's very reserved, she's very polite. Barb Jump is this New York, New Jersey, loud, garrulous. She's constantly telling stories. Yeah, Barb Jump is a great character. I describe her as a combination of a sharp object and an action verb. That's her name, Barb Jump.
I know.
And,
I love that. I love that.
yeah,
line.
and she's a former comedian, so she's constantly saying things like, she's talking about how she notices that Amanda was pregnant because her ass was bigger.
Yeah.
And Tommy's like, Mom, what are you talking about? It's like, no. It's first trimester ass.
Yeah.
Everybody gets it. Even your little walking stick of a mother. One moment I'm the same scrawny little girl I've always been. The next thing you know, I'm Kim Kardashian.
I know. I love that. And of course, I kept thinking about the Real Housewives of Jersey, like, because she would have fit right in with them.
Right.
Right. That's what I was picturing her as. So, yeah, you had great lines about her. So, but before I let you go, I got to find out what you're doing next.
So the next book is written. Not edited yet, so it's maybe still a little bit of a train wreck. But it's about a Dartmouth College physics professor who has been prodding the mysteries of quantum mechanics and begins getting ill. He starts dropping into these seizures, and nobody knows why. And I'll leave it at that. But so it's kind of like it's one of those science, a guy pushing the boundaries of science, and then like Frankenstein, the science comes back at him.
See, your concept, every book is so different. That's what I love about these thrillers. They're so
I got to keep myself entertained, Michelle. Like, this is mostly about me. Oh yeah, if you want to read it in the fine. But yeah, it's mostly like I've always been fascinated by physics, and the goal I had, and my agent was kind of this little voice in my ear the whole time was like, not too much science, Brad. Not too much science, but hopefully I make the science accessible enough that I'm not losing anybody on the way.
Oh, and like you said, writers, you're alone all the time. You do have to entertain yourself, right? Like you do have to keep it interesting. So, because it's just you, right? That in the very beginning, and never mind us who are going to read it later, right?
Right.
Well, hold up the cover one more time.
Okay,
and,
thank you. I will. God, you're good, Michelle. You make me better than I really am. Here we go. The last act.
Last act. I love the cover. I love that it's all kind of blurred.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really
and I don't know how well they can see the kind of the smoky action.
The smoky. I love that. And it comes out Tuesday, everybody. So I'm going to put IndieBound link below in case you want to run to your local bookstore to go get it, and then Amazon, which I hit a lot more often than I should because it's easy. So I'll have both those links listed below, along with your website and all your social media links. So
that's awesome. And actually, if I can put in a plug for an independent bookstore, if you would like a signed copy of The Last Act, you can get one. I've partnered with my local independent bookstore. It's called Fountain Bookstore in Richmond, Virginia. And so they have an e-commerce site. So if you go to the Fountain Bookstore e-commerce site, click on The Last Act, and then in the instructions say, I would like this signed by the author. I will sign anything you would like. I will say anything you would like within the very loose bounds of libel law. But I'm happy to, so anything from happy birthday, mom, to, say you want to tweak your younger brother, mom always liked me better. Something like that. Whatever you want me to do, I'm happy to sign.
You know what? I'm going to find the link and I'll put it below.
All right, sounds good.
Find it. So thank you, Brad. It's always fun to talk to you, always. And I can't wait to read your next book. This one was so much fun. So awesome. You have a great weekend and a fun week next week.
I will do that. Thanks for having me on.
All right, bye-bye.